Candace Owens has been running defense, overt support, and has been completely overlooking the many transgressions of the Tates, not even acknowledging the potential of them to be true. And why? Well, there's many conspiracies and probably legitimate reasons as to why, but the biggest one is that Candace Owens' husband is self-proclaimedly good friends with the Tate brothers, all right? Now, we are going to explore this rabbit hole in a large amount of depth, but suffice to say, Candace Owens has once again, after Tate has been basically flown out of Romania by the Trump administration, okay? Again, they were set to face trial in Romania. They were on house arrest for a long period of time. They were supposed to, see if justice would be, sought against them. But through political lobbying and leveraging and whatever, they were flown out by the Trump administration, who apparently views them as some kind of an asset, and ushered into America, where Candace Owens ended up interviewing Mr. Tate once again, and she became even more emboldened about her support of the Tate brothers. Now, there's a lot to kind of dissect as far as Candace Owens' involvement with the Tates goes, okay? The most, I'd say, egregious thing that I saw in this interview was the brazen way that Candace Owens implies that the reason that the Tates were under any scrutiny was because they were speaking out against Israel. Absolute fucking clown show lunacy. Absolutely, completely untrue. Their fucking trial, their case, whatever, it existed well before the Tates spoke out after October 7th. These people try to leverage these fucking international tragedies to make themselves seem like fucking martyrs for these causes that they absolutely cynically, opportunistically co-opt. And seeing that so brazenly, especially from someone like Candace Owens, who has a massive fucking platform and who has this veil of legitimacy. I know that most people who know anything understand that they're not legitimate, these sources. But man, concerning to see, someone who projects as professionally as Candace claiming things as brazenly as this. But enough of me yapping. Let's get into the evidence here, okay? So Candace basically, again, did a complete interview with Andrew Tate where it goes beyond just saying she was running defense. She was just completely leveraging everything to support them. It's very strange, but this was one very strange segment identified by Gadget. He says Candace Owens thinks it is so unfair that Andrew Tate's phone was seized as he is being investigated for crimes in Florida. She says we should seize the phones of Ron DeSantis and his Attorney General James Uthmire. She's seriously unwell. And so, yes, this is obviously a reference to the fact that Andrew Tate arrived in America, in Florida, where, guess what? There is actually a fucking legal case against the Tates from one of their alleged victims. That same victim that Candace Owens has gone on record effectively smearing. Okay? For those who don't know, Candace Owens, despite being aware that the alleged victim of the Tates was underage in a lot of the cases where she was potentially exploited, Candace framed it as though this alleged victim was actually the perpetrator or bad faith actor, when really there was just a fucking series of much older men than her who clearly were taking advantage of her. But anyway, that was covered most, I say, effectively in Willie Mac's video on Candace and the Tate brothers. But yeah, here is a pretty brazen...
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me because this is not the way due process should work, okay? Yeah. And people should not be prosecuted because you don't like their ideas or you want something for them. We have to make sure we protect our judicial system. And so when I hear this, they took your technology...
Again, she implies that there's literally zero court case against these guys, which is just not true.
As soon as you landed, what should be happening right now is left and right pressure should be put on Ron DeSantis and this Attorney General to make a statement as to why that was done, under what grounds a preliminary investigation is done. I want to know, what is the legal route to getting Ron DeSantis' text messages that day? I want to know who was texting Ron DeSantis. Is it a FOIA request? Who was emailing Ron DeSantis and texting him? I don't want your phone. I want his. Okay? Yeah. Your phone makes no sense to me.
Look at him. Tate's fucking amazed, dude. Tate is amazed that she's running this hard fucking for him, dude. What a guy, man. It's crazy. I don't understand. What kind of fucking leverage does this guy have over this woman's husband? I have no idea. Are they really just that good of friends? Is Tate really like that well connected? It's possible, man. I really just don't know. There are conspiracies and there's many, theories that exist, but man, the fact remains this is incredible. And again, we'll get into the nitty gritty of why I'm saying this is so incredible. But yeah,
I want to know what donors texted you and told you to move, because you were moving for donors and money and corruption, no different than a George Soros DA was doing. And I don't care if it's left or right. Wrong is wrong.
You nailed it.
She nailed it, dude. Anyway, here's an interesting segment where Tate basically, he implies that he doesn't, you could say, he implies basically that he commits some kind of crimes or implicates himself in the activities on his phone, but basically says, I erase all of that fucking proof every fucking night, right? So he's basically framing it as though, oh yeah, having my phone seized was no big deal because I always erase my data, which was not always the case, by the way. For those who have even read the fucking case that Candace pretends like doesn't matter or anything or whatever the fuck, these guys, oh my goodness, the amount of fucking information that has been seized from these guys is, oh man, it's brutal. These guys, you should just watch my past coverage, I would say, if you really want a fucking clear, large-scale picture. But these guys are complete amoral actors. They do not care about anybody but themselves. At the end of the day, they are on record overtly lying, scamming, manipulating, fucking grooming the women that they were supposed to be caring for and working with and employing. There's too much to fucking relay, but let's focus on this interview with Candace because it's pretty blatant.
Come get me, arrest me, perp walk me, put me on the news, tell everyone I'm a human trafficker. Come get me, arrest me, perp walk me, put me on the news, tell everyone I'm a human trafficker. You think I'm not versed? You think I'm not ready? I'm a Navy SEAL in this shit. Fucking come get me, raid my house, take my stuff. You think I sleep with a full phone full of evidence? You think I don't wipe my phone every night? You think I'm dumb? Come get me, arrest me, let's do this all over again. I've done it for come get me.
Right, yeah, okay. He erases his phone every night. Anyway, yeah, and then this guy, David Wood, points out, but what about the Jews? Right. That is what we're going to be exploring, okay? Candace Owens does weirdly default to pretty well what amounts to Jewish conspiracy as far as the Tate's case goes. But yes, here we go. We will explore the wonderful world of Candace Owens right now. Candace Owens issued an open call for anyone who wants to debate her about Tate's case, which is insane because based on what she states, man, she really doesn't seem to know much.
Since, and trying to say, well, it's not Christian, it's not this, he's a bad guy. And suddenly everybody wanted to look into Andrew Tate. I watched that happen live, okay? So any person who would like to debate me on that, who is a neocon, who is pretending that they've held these perspectives about Andrew Tate forever, since the investigations began, please, I invite you to have that conversation with me because you're all lying, okay? Let's not dress this up as something that it isn't. This is about Andrew Tate saying something that you don't want him to say because he's too influential.
Right, so this is where she was basically angling as though it's just because Tate is talking about Israel, which is fucking sickening framing, for the record. Absolutely fucking sickening framing. If you're wondering why Candace Owens continues to platform Andrew Tate, attack his trafficking victims, and push misinformation about his case, here's a photo of her husband, George Farmer, with Tate at Tate's house in Romania. They are good friends. Again, picture of Candace's husband and Tate, which the husband's been on record stating this. I've covered this in past videos. It's not a matter for debate. But yeah, there's this insane fucking moment. Oh my goodness, the real world Tate. The real world for those, this is Tate's fucking course, basically, that he was peddling. Candace is just openly stating that she hired a guy from Andrew Tate's course.
And so I do also want to, in closing, commend you on something which was so crazy.
For the record, Andrew Tate documented in scamming his own course members, his own students, with crypto rug pulls in the very recent past. Okay, for the record. So
there was this person who was doing like a bunch of digital content. I thought his content was amazing, got into touch. I mean, figured out this is like a young school kid, like basically essentially like 20 years old, like just turned 20 years old. And I'm like, dude, you're a hustler. Like, where did you learn how to do all of this stuff? Like, I'm going to hire you. I'm like, what school did you go to? Harvard, Columbia, Hustler University. I said, excuse me? What's Hustler? I went to Andrew Tate's school and I learned how to do all of these. I mean, this kid is going to make a killing. I mean, I'm telling you, he's going to make an absolute killing. It's like around the clock, work.
Yeah.
Comes from the wrong side of the tracks. I figure out, hired him. One of the greatest hires that I've had, like unbelievably. And so that really, to me, also signals a lot because I talk about what is so wrong with the education system. And then you learn that these kids, this is why they hate you, these kids who just want a freaking opportunity, who will work around the clock, who just want to be.
As wholesome as that is, it's kind of sad that this works as basically a Hustlers University ad, right? Like that's basically why that was being shared. I do want to quickly take a little deviation and show you a little bit more about these fucking brothers real quick, just to kind of establish. Well, you might not be able to kill an idea. You sure as hell can kill a person. Bad faith? Sounds kind of cool, to be honest. I think I'm gonna make that my first merch line.
It's been such a long time coming.
Let's take a quick little look at Tristan Tate's own words, all right? So, Tristan Tate, by the way, just for context again, Candace Owens is somebody who has railed against the porn industry, the way that it exploits women, all these fucking things. She has all these conservative values that, in a lot of ways, I agree with, of course. But, when held up to scrutiny, it does not fucking persist. It does not seem to actually be that principled, okay? Here's Tristan Tate bragging about recruiting more girls into porn than anyone else. And no matter how well fathers raise their daughters, if they're not rich, he can get to them. This is a very, very fucking interesting clip because, again, these guys are so overt. They're so honest. They were so unchecked, okay? Unchecked and so used to not being checked that they would just openly state fucking things like this, right? With no fucking shame. And, I mean, you tell me what you think, but this is pretty rotten.
This is a good question. Tips on raising daughters so they don't end up 304s, prostitutes, on the pole, OnlyFans, etc. Most men I know don't have daughters for these reasons. I'll chime in very quickly and I'll say, one, I have recruited, I think, although you've worked with a lot, more girls into, I guess, the adult entertainment industry than anyone else. I really have. And the one type of girl I couldn't recruit were girls with rich parents. Oh, do that for money. I don't need money. My family's rich. So when I see these broke boys on Twitter and on Instagram be like, oh, my daughter, I'm raising her right, and she's like 9 years old, but he like works some crappy job. He's a wagey. I'm like, she's going to get that Louis Vuitton purse one way or another. So you might want to level up your game and buy it for her, my G. This is a good question.
Right, so why is this sickening or whatever? I mean, if it's not obvious, yeah, okay, he's basically admitting to exploiting broke women, right? Secondarily, though, these guys, in the court case filings against them from the Florida woman, the Florida alleged victim, there were correspondences between basically Andrew and Tristan that made it clear that these brothers were kind of basically, when the Ukraine war broke out and there were many refugees, that these brothers were basically doing charity work, but with a real intention of recruiting women to camgirling, okay? And so basically they saw an opportunity in this mass fucking scale tragedy where it's like, yeah, okay, dispossessed peoples, desperate people, they'll fucking do cam. You know what I mean? And again, I mean, that's not shocking if you have a fucking profile for who these guys are, but you would think Candace would have a profile for who these guys are, considering that her husband, again, is such a good fucking friend of theirs, and that, again, she claims to have done her research, but here she is. Candace Owens is a hypocrite. In one breath, she says porn ruined men. In the next breath, she simps for the Tates.
And I became a multi-millionaire. I did this by creating and I became a multi-millionaire. I did this by creating a webcam studio. By taking girls who didn't know how to be effective on webcam, girls who had never done webcam before, girls who didn't have the equipment, didn't have the know-how, didn't have the will, didn't have the premises, didn't have the ability to make money with this exchange. I created a system that allowed me to convince girls to do this, allowed me to retain 100% control of their income, allowed me to...
Again, about fucking control, these guys dominated. That was their goal. They aimed to dominate these women, okay? As documented time and time again. That was their fixation. They wanted complete control over these women. And that's what they got, it seems like. And in reality, that is not as desirable as it is made out to be in any fucking way. You should not aspire to that in any format in your relationships. It's very fucking inevitable that those kinds of dynamics are going to explode, by the way.
Make sure they were effective, because it's a super competitive industry. Don't think this is easy money. You're just going to put a girl...
All right, you get the fucking point.
To traditional education system that most...
Oh, God. Yeah, so our boy Gadget came in with a little bit of a comical fucking edit. And I say comical, but it's kind of sad. It does seem like, yeah, Candace basically used that little anecdote to overtly shill the fucking Tate's course.
And you take a look at what you and your brother have built, and I had not even realized how successful Hustler University was. It's a full disruption to traditional education system that most kids can afford and don't need to go into six-figure debt for.
This feels almost AI generated. It's so fucking naked in its overtness.
$49.99 for a course, and I actually hired someone not realizing they were a Hustler University graduate.
Right, you get the point.
And by the way, really, guys, if we're gonna go for it, and by the way, if we're going to speak about getting rid of pornography, the very last people we should be worrying about is Andrew and Tristan Tate. Okay, let's talk about Pornhub. Like, really, guys, if we're going to go for it, let's talk about Pornhub. And so I just had the nuance, and I read the case, and everyone condemned me. How could you defend them? I'm just reading the facts, and they're not going to be convicted. Well, guess what? That happened. Okay, the case ended up being thrown out in Romania.
Oh my God. That's crazy. It was never thrown out. The case was not thrown out. That was literal fucking false information presented by the Tates numerous times. Blatant lie that clearly she didn't fact check because she doesn't care.
Yeah, they said there's no evidence here. It's exactly what I was saying. There's not enough evidence here to bring charges against them. And the
Bro, you're fucking insane.
Prosecutors essentially were going to have to rebuild an entire case to try to charge them, at which case...
This is... Oh, God, dude. I've gone through this too many times. This is complete... She's literally just taking the Tate's words at face value, which should not be done. They are not just compulsive liars, fucking systemic liars. They literally pollute the information ecosystem surrounding their case, themselves, whatever, all the time. Anyway, what a useful idiot.
Case, it looks like the Trump administration intervened because they are American citizens, and they were just brought back to America. They are now on American soil. They landed this morning. And for some reason, people are angry about that because they don't like who Andrew and Tristan Tate are. They do.
Bro, you really think it's rational for them to be angry about that? For the U.S. to leverage their influence, power, wealth, whatever, to expend resources and intellectual fucking labor and leverage and trust with other nations to fucking have these guys brought back? These are the assets we need. These are the fucking... Anyway, I don't know. Okay. I gotta relax because who gives a fuck at the end of the day with these people, man? Yeah.
I know. It's been a very long time. Andrew Tate's story is interesting to me for a lot of reasons. The first is because of how I met Andrew Tate.
Long time.
I know. It's been a very long time.
Very long time.
Actually, I met you downstairs at the Ritz.
Correct.
George and I were engaged at the time.
Yep.
Candace and I met in December of 2018, and we got engaged very quickly after 17 days.
As I was having this dinner with my husband and his friend, Andrew Tate was there. I had no idea.
Hey, it's Paul Joseph Watson. What great company. Holy shit.
Idea who he was. This is kind of before he really took off on the internet. I had my assistant at the time with me who happened to be Romanian. She's born in Romania, speaks Romanian, happened to have been in the United States. She spent a lot of the time that we were there talking to him, right? They were having a conversation. She comes over to me afterwards and she says, this guy, Andrew Tate, I think he's a pimp in Romania. I said, what? And she's like, no, I think he's like actually a pimp in...
Wow, so you close advisor to Candace being like, yo, this guy's a pimp.
Romania. How long ago was your webcam business?
Yeah, so I stopped having any involvement with it. I think 8 to 9 years ago I stopped.
That's false.
Andrew Tate is not hiding exactly who Andrew Tate was.
I've had nothing to do with it for 10 or 11 years. It was a long time ago. Those are the early stages of the internet.
If you're a guy and you hold citizenship in America or in the United Kingdom and you decide to uproot to Romania, it's got to be because you can do a little more dodgy stuff in Romania. Digging
Crazy.
back 10 years. I don't know
What changed?
who could survive that litmus test. Again, if you found Candace 10 years ago and you asked me about pornography, it's okay, this is 10 years ago. The content from 10 years ago is coming into play where they're saying,
To
well, look,
conflate.
they're conflating this now. So even though these charges are from, and I read the indictment again, 2021,
Jesus.
but look at what he said 10 years ago.
Everything from these old videos, old clips, my webcam company, things that happened 10 years ago have absolutely nothing to do with the criminal case. Absolutely zero. Anything you see from before 2021 has nothing to do with the case.
So I do want you to contextualize this video that has been circulating on the internet of you talking about the lover boy method. So we'll take a look at that right now.
Sure.
You cannot get a girl to work for you. So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f the girl. After you f the girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy. You're always at work. You can come work for me.
And this is me explaining how having a webcam company, it's actually a larger video as a whole.
As I said, you cannot try and approach girls to do webcam. Hi, do you want to do webcam? It's bullshit. It doesn't work.
I believe that Andrew Tate was always upfront with all of these women.
I don't mention webcam. No one's going to
What a fucking joke.
say yes. And any girl who does say yes is doing it. She doesn't like you. She doesn't know you. She doesn't love you. She's saying yes purely for money.
It's absolutely not criminal in any regard. There's nothing criminal about it. It has no bearing or any interest in the current case.
Tax is also another important element.
This is him overtly admitting to defrauding these fucking women, whatever. He would claim that he needed to take money from them for taxes, okay? But they were paid in Bitcoin. So really, he just wanted to take more money from them.
Element for controlling your woman.
Again, he emphasized control because his aim was to have complete control.
You're not going to pay anybody tax because you're getting paid in Bitcoin. So you don't need to pay tax to anybody.
Yeah, I know this shit by like the back of my hand at this point,
But you
man.
need to tell your girl that you're paying the tax. Because girls are lazy, and girls are stupid, and girls don't understand how taxes work. So the girl's working with you, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've made this much money, but I'm going to pay the tax to make sure we don't get in trouble. She'll sit there and go, okay. Now that allows you to do two things. One, it's another control element. If I work with him, my tax is not a problem. If I do it alone, I have to deal with taxes. Taxes are complicated. So control element.
The intentional perpetuation of old videos of Andrew and Tristan during that time, videos which were completely unrelated to the case at hand, as some sort of social justification for them being locked away in a Romanian prison, was gross. Oh my god, that's March 18th, bro. That's a year ago. Fucking 2.7 million people consuming this absolute misinformation. That is crazy. These old videos are literally in the fucking case file. Oh, this woman. Anyway, here it is. Here it fucking is. Here's them opportunistically, bro. It's just ironic because, my god, man. Man, these are, like, Tate obviously is now one of the most ardent, and has been one of the most ardent Trump supporters. Okay? Obviously played some kind of a role probably in him ending up in America. But, I don't know, man. Just the contradiction of Trump's Gaza plan, with Tate claiming that it's because of his criticism of Israel that the Matrix attacked him, which is a complete fucking falsehood, okay? Complete falsehood. He had legal case against him well before October 7th, well before he spoke out against the government of Israel. But anyway.
Nobody had an issue with you, okay, despite your case going on, until you hopped on to Piers Morgan on October 9th and said that you were pro-Palestine and called it a genocide. I watched overnight, they went from, okay, he's fine, You can talk to Andrew Tate. Everyone wanted to know Andrew Tate, figure out his platform, to a complete 180 and trying to say, well, it's not Christian, it's not this, he's a bad guy. And suddenly everybody wanted to look into Andrew Tate. I watched that happen live, okay? So any person who would like to debate me on that, who is a neocon, who is pretending that they've held these perspectives about Andrew Tate forever, since the investigations began, please, I invite you to have that conversation with me, because you're all lying.
It's interesting because Candace has taken a stance against neocons, as she puts it, which is interesting because, yeah, neocons, there's definitely reasons to criticize neocons. It's an interesting shift in her thinking, but dude, the way that she's framing, it's as if that's what made people shift on Tate. You know what I mean?
Okay, let's not dress this up as something that it isn't. This is about Andrew Tate saying something that you don't want him to say because he's too influential. If he took a Likud party position.
Right, the Likud is Netanyahu's party, okay? Pretty far-right party in Israel.
And he said, kill every last Palestinian. He would be governor of Florida.
It's very interesting because I felt it myself. When I had these accusations, everybody understood, well, they've done.
That is so mentally insane, it makes me sick. It actually makes me completely fucking sick. And the reason it makes me sick is because, the Israeli government is absolutely deserving of criticism, is one way to put it, okay? But the way that she is co-opting this so cynically to, oh my God, to try and fucking frame Andrew Tate as though he's innocent and being persecuted, the Matrix attacking him. Yeah, I mean, it's just not true.
Done this to Donald Trump, and they did it in New York, and this is happening in Romania, and it's all very old, and the judicial system there can't be trusted, and they haven't even managed to have an election because it's so corrupt, and this doesn't really make sense, and why did they attack him when he got big online? Everyone was on my side until that exact day, and after that day, they all instantly turned on me. The second I said we shouldn't be blowing children to pieces, the second I criticized Israel, that was the day where I lost all of the support from the conservative side. And they
it's sickening because they're talking about basically the meta-analysis of conservatives. When did conservatives turn on Tate? And here's the thing you need to understand. A lot of spineless fucking conservatives who fundamentally already knew that they disliked and disagreed with Tate. Guys like Ben Shapiro, guys like Peterson. These are two guys who absolutely disliked Tate and almost every fucking thing that he stood for. But they kept quiet about it until after October 7th, okay? Why did they start to beef openly with Andrew Tate? Yeah, because Tate openly was decrying what they were saying, basically, after October 7th. That's true, all right? But in reality, the fucking focus on the case or whatever, or the past of Andrew Tate, this is something that has been discussed well before October 7th, okay? So maybe you can talk about the opportunism of these big fucking political figures, that they didn't want to cause any bad blood or whatever, friction, whatever, when Andrew Tate was at the peak of his fucking popularity, until there was a real opportunity to do so. But implying that this is the reason that he's being persecuted is absolutely not a reflection of reality.
Me as well. Have we not seen this trend happening over and over and over again? Candace Owens was
You're not the victims.
Totally fine. She was never considered anti-Semitic and Adolf Hitler. All of a sudden, she speaks up about a human right violation and says, too many Palestinian children are dying. And what happened to me?
Which is obviously true.
Overnight, they gave me...
It is a good thing that they are criticizing Israel, right? But the way they're doing it, man, it's, makes me a bit sick, but anyway.
Anti-Semite of the year, every friend. Oh my God!
Because they're making themselves the victims. They're leveraging it that's so fucking cynical.
Something's happened. This is happening too much. It's too obvious at this point. It's too obvious. It's not even casual. You assassinate, you go after, and you attack people. And the reason that I believe they're doing this to you is because they're losing. Okay, the neocon influence it's waning. Everybody can see that. They can see that in the numbers. Organizations that were big and used to have influence don't anymore. And so when people lose influence, they essentially go, I don't want to do the free markets anymore. I can't win in the free markets. Okay, so how do we just get rid of the competition? These people that purport to love the battle of ideas. Oh, it's about let the best idea win. They're the ones that call for censorship. They were the ones that were telling YouTube to censor my new platform, get rid of Candace, demonetize her, do all these things. I've lived it Andrew, and that is why I'm very aware of what's happening to you. And I'm sick of people trying to dress it up as something else. Even sicker is I'm trying to pretend that it's like we're doing it because of our Christianity. No, you can no longer win in the free markets of ideas. So you are going after every person who does not hold your personal perspectives about war because it's no longer favorable. Okay? It's no longer favorable left and right. Oh,
Man, I've seen a lot of people talk about and kind of support Candace Owens for her take on Israel, basically, in their treatment, the brutality against the Palestinians. And I have yet to really explore what her, statements have been. Let's see. Oh, man. The comments on her video, by the way, interviewing Tate, are pretty wild. Because, again, this is all framed around shitting on Ron DeSantis for looking into Tate when he landed in Florida. You know what I mean? It's funny how they investigated Andrew so thoroughly and quickly, but never investigated Epstein. Ironic. This fucking idiot doesn't realize that Epstein actually
investigate Andrew Tate. Now,
you have to keep in mind, buddy, that Epstein died in prison, and there was a separate instance where he was labeled a registered sex offender. Epstein was investigated. Now, obviously, a lot of corruption and weird shit going around with the Epstein case, but the point is, Epstein died in prison, bro. Candace is one of the few in the media that still has a backbone. Crazy. If you want to know who rules over you, just look for who you are not allowed to criticize. That's a classic fucking little statement. Sue the crap out of them, Andrew. I think you have a strong case. This guy knows nothing. I have no personal feelings about Andrew, but this is an example of what can happen to any of us if the government just decides to screw your life on a whim with zero evidence. That's nuts. Homie is a lot of things, but he's not guilty of anything. And his rights as a U.S. citizen are being violated. Bro, he just got flown out of a foreign fucking country to evade a trial. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to any of us. In Florida, they don't do this much to a pedophile, but they have... Bro, you don't know what the case is about, bro. There's certainly pedophilic implications in it, but anyway. But they have time and energy to go after this man who hasn't committed a crime. People need to wake up. DeSantis is done. He's doing what it was done to Trump. What the fuck? Wow, this is actually crazy. Investigated 5 years by 4 agencies, and he is still being investigated? What the heck's going on? Crazy. You keep going, Andrew. My son was a hopeless drug addict. You changed his life. Jesus Christ, that's sad. I'm sorry. Wow, fuck. As a Floridian, DeSantis let us down with this one. As a Floridian, I'm disgusted. Fuck, man, weird.
Is joining us, and I just want to at first give you guys the background here because it's egregious what happened here. I don't care about your opinions about Andrew Tate. I don't care if you think he's a misogynist, if he's a sexist, if you think he's a racist. None of that actually matters, okay? Because
that doesn't matter. What? Sorry. What?
Think about what would be the circumstance if Trump traveled to New York, ends the presidency, travels to New York, his plan lands, and leftists just start freaking out. How? Oh, I don't want him back in this state. I don't want him here. This is ridiculous. And then the governor moves to host a press conference, which Ron DeSantis did in Florida, as soon as Tristan and Andrew Tate landed, and said, I'm going to have my attorney general look into him because we don't want him here. He's not welcome here.
Okay, bro. Equating Andrew Tate to Trump, the acting fucking president of the United States, is a little bit of a strange way to operate, I would say.
This is what Ron DeSantis did. He's not welcome here. What do you mean he's not welcome here? He's a U.S. citizen. He's a U.S. passport. He's welcome here. Okay, he hasn't been charged of any crimes overseas.
What? She literally... It's not that she doesn't know, dude. She is just a liar. This is crazy. It's so brazen. It's hard to believe. He was charged with crimes in Romania. He was under trial. He was also set to be extradited potentially to the UK for charges in the UK, including fucking rape.
Perspective of what you think about him, of course he's welcome here. And so Ron DeSantis says that, and literally a couple of days later...
For the record, by the way, the case in the UK, I don't really think it's worth listening to Candace anymore, okay? If people want it, I would react to this entire thing, but right now my brain is... I think we're better off just not listening. But, by the way, for the UK Tate case, okay, the accusation of rape from the alleged victim, this is the kind of account. This is what I guess you would want This is basically the most damning evidence that has been presented, it seems like. You don't have the testicular fortitude, for nothing is off the table. This will be you doing a fluff piece interview with a scammer and sex trafficker who told the girl he loved raping her for clicks and views. This is not true. Anyway, this is not true. Right. Patrick Bet-David, of course, immediately did a interview with Tate from Florida. And so here we go.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I loved how much you hated it. Turned me on. Why am I like
You were my whore when I had my hands on you.
that?
This is him sending WhatsApp text-based, voice notes to a woman who basically was complaining and, expressing a dislike for the way that Andrew treated her in the bedroom.
Why?
Whilst we were having sex, he put his hand on my
This is her allegation.
throat and strangled me until I lost consciousness. But he was still having sex with me when I kind of came back around again.
I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get
Monsters are monsters. When you're under my control, I do whatever I please.
by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to you? That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet.
And then the next day, one of the whites of my eyes had gone completely red. Apparently, that's kind of common in domestic abuse cases where there's a lack of oxygen in your brain. So your blood vessels start bursting to kind of try and get the oxygen there.
Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't pass out.
But he kind of kept saying, I own you, you belong to me.
These are, the text here, these are texts that Andrew was sending alongside these fucking voice notes, allegedly. And I loved you doing that to you. And watching you let me while still debating if it's a good idea or not. Jesus Christ. That's some dark fucking...
Threatening to kill me.
Chill the out. Jesus Christ. I thought you were cool.
Yeah, man. And then Candace Owens can present to her audience of hundreds of thousands, claiming that there's no charges against them abroad. Fascinating. Here's a fucking article for the record from NBC News. Andrew Tate charged with rape and trafficking in Romania returns to the U.S. Sheesh. Okay, what can I say? This is a disappointing case to cover. I think you all understand, but if there's anything to take away from it, all right, please be more critical of these fucking talking heads, all right? Please look for counter narratives, counter opinions, whatever. We live in an ecosystem where poisoning the information that is presented is super easy to do. We do live in an era of fucking fake news. You can fabricate and fucking just blatantly lie in a lot of these circles for whatever reason, especially on the right, and to go completely unchecked. And just try your best not to get duped by these fucking opportunists. That's really all I can advocate for you, okay? Yeah, I don't know. If you're looking to commemorate these bad faith actors, which is what Candace and Tate are, you can buy some bad faith merch. Only at gokamerch.com. Thank you for watching.